Well, I haven't really thought about it.
The media remain obsessed with this absurd notion that Donald Trump is going to serve a third term.
I'm not sure if anybody would run against us.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
Even by the absurd standards of the American political cycle, in which candidates for various offices often spend more time running than they do governing, 9 months into a presidential term is early to start touting for re-election. However, conventional wisdom, or indeed common sense, has rarely previously deterred the current US president, who had barely been sworn in for the term he won in 2024 when he started pitching for 2028, and who has in recent days and weeks noticeably stepped this patter up. He has even had some hats made.
The Trump 2028 cap is one of the most popular that's ever been produced.
The big question then, which this explainer proposes to address, is: can President Donald Trump seek a third stint in the White House, or whatever may be left of the White House by then? The short answer is no. US presidents are term limited. Specifically, they are limited to 2 terms, and a man who boasts of how breezily he has aced cognitive tests should have grasped that the term he is presently serving is his second, and therefore final.
At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
However, Trump and or his various flying monkeys are insinuating, gusting insisting, that there is a longer answer. We will get to that. But first to the barrier which must be clambered over, slunk around or wriggled through, i.e. the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. It does not appear to offer obvious footholds or loopholes. It says, in part, no person shall be elected to the office of the President more than twice. Trump has appeared to acknowledge this in remarks this week, but those remarks fell some way short of, obviously I can't run and so wouldn't even dream of countenancing the merest suggestion of the vaguest idea of so doing. Probably the key phrase was, we'll see what happens. The 22nd Amendment was ratified in 1951. Before then, it was sort of generally understood that 2 terms was your lot. The first president, George Washington, hung it up after 2, and his example was swiftly followed by several subsequent 2-termers, among them Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, and Andrew Jackson, though Ulysses Grant did flirt vaguely with the idea of seeking a 3rd term. There was recurrent chatter about enshrining the 2-term tradition in law, but there was equally perennial sentiment that it didn't seem worth the hassle. Minds were changed, as was much else, by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He won handily in 1932, promising to lead the US out of the Great Depression, won again by a mile in 1936 by doing exactly that, decided to go round again in 1940 in the interests of continuity as World War II erupted, and won convincingly, and won again in 1944 as victory in Europe and the Pacific neared, even as Roosevelt's own health declined. He died 5 months later. It was, ironically given the current circumstances, Republicans who led the way on the 22nd Amendment, seeking to thwart any future FDRs from governing interminably.
I think the president knows, and he and I have talked about the constrictions of the Constitution, as much as so many of the American people lament that.
The simplest, at least the legalist, way for Trump to stand again would be to repeal the 22nd Amendment. However, that requires 2/3 of both houses of Congress, which the Republicans do not have and seem unlikely to acquire in the next 3 years, and even after that, 3/4 of state legislatures need to sign off. Right now, Democrats control 18 of the 50. So some species of chicanery would be necessary. But what?
No, you'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I think the people wouldn't like that. It's too cute.
Trump himself has already shot down as too cute the idea of running as someone else's vice president, then having them stand obligingly aside, and anyway, the 12th Amendment already saw that ruse coming. No person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States.
We have some very good people, as you know.
Trump could perhaps persuade some stooge to stand in his stead, while nudging and winking that everyone knows who would really be in charge. A variation on this stunt was once pulled by George Wallace, long-serving Democrat governor of Alabama, who, finding himself term-limited, persuaded his previously politically indifferent, and though voters weren't told, seriously ill wife, Lurleen, to run under the slogan, "Two governors, one cause." In 1966, she duly won a landslide and died in office within months. While Melania Trump is ruled out by foreign birth, at least 3 of Donald Trump's children have cleared the 35-year minimum age requirement for the presidency, and it is depressingly plausible that a plurality of Republican voters would cheerfully play along with Donald Jr. 2028. Another idea in circulation is that President Trump could be anointed Speaker of the House of Representatives if Republicans have the numbers. The Speaker is next in the line of succession after the Vice President, and nothing in the 12th Amendment says the Speaker has to be eligible for the presidency, and the 22nd Amendment only says you can't be elected President more than twice, and in such a situation Trump would not have been elected. But this would require finding people willing to run as President and Vice President on the understanding that they'd both resign on day one. Don Jr. and Eric, maybe. The likeliest scenario is that Trump just goes ahead and does it, as the Republican nominee or as an independent, and defies anyone to stop him. Many would certainly try. It is the states that run US elections, and there would doubtless be widespread refusal to put his name on the ballot. But the ultimate arbiter would be the US Supreme Court. This US Supreme Court, where, given its record of craven acquiescence to date, Trump might fancy his chances.
Am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
If we should have learned one thing from the long, hard lesson of Donald Trump's political career, it is, just because something hasn't been done, or shouldn't be done, it doesn't necessarily follow that it can't be done. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.